Psychiatry, Lang said, was a fake science, used as a system of political control to shore up a violent, collapsing society.
Mental illness in this country, especially post-lockdown, has never been worse. Mental health has never been worse.
Once I was given this diagnosis, I was actually able to treat the symptoms and I got better. You really should consider giving BetterHelp a try. BetterHelp is a highly reviewed online therapy platform.
Esther visited St. Thomas Hospital near Westminster Bridge and requested to see the mental health crisis team.
David had been struggling with his mental health in the lead up to his disappearance.
She was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, a mental health condition often associated with stigma and misunderstanding. Esther now advocates for mandatory return interviews for people who leave intentionally,
Exacerbated tenfold by her very poor mental health.
Psychosis is losing touch with reality and is often associated with various serious mental health issues. If stress becomes too overwhelming, anyone may experience these symptoms, triggering a breakdown.
Recently begun going to a day program for psychiatric care at a local hospital to help Ruthie kind of get her life together beyond just her mental health.
Bipolar is a complicated disorder. If you or anyone you know is suffering with mental health, please reach out.
You really should consider giving BetterHelp a try.
You know, some people see it, some people don't.
Lookoutfa Charlie.
I'm going to bring the whole fucking diseased, corrupt temple down on your head.
I was accidentally in a very heated debate / argument the other day, except I wasn't the one heated at all. The couple that I was talking to they literally became red in the face, flustered, and angered in such an irrational way that you would almost think that I had just told them that their God didn't exist. It was crazy. So they were bringing up psychiatry shit. They were talking about somebody that they knew. I won't go into details on that so much, but they were talking about how he had bipolar. This kid had bipolar. They kept going on, and finally I said he was diagnosed with bipolar, and they started relaying the symptoms to me. Yeah, the kid does this, he does that, he's just doing this, he's just doing that. And I said, what it sounds to me like is that this kid has absolutely no impulse control, not what you are calling bipolar. And they snapped back at me, well, he was diagnosed with bipolar. And I said, okay, he was diagnosed, huh? With what tests was he diagnosed with bipolar? What test did they use? And then they couldn't really answer that, because there are no tests for bipolar. So then that started leading into me saying other things because I was getting really irritated by the way they were talking to me. They were talking to me like I had zero idea what I was talking about because they are involved in the psychiatric industry. So I started telling them that psychiatry is just a weaponized tool, and it's being used in a weaponized fashion to attack and come after views, opinions, and beliefs that the system doesn't like. It's also being used just to make money and get as many people as they can on a list of people with mental illness. It's also being used to attack people that just happen to piss off authority or blow whistles. And that's when they went batshit. So after a while, I began to ask them questions. And every question that I asked them, they had absolutely no knowledge of at all. No knowledge. And here they were, scoffing at me like I was some kind of backwoods snake handler who had zero understanding of the outside world. I had asked them about the Rosenhan experiment, the Thud experiment. They had no knowledge of it. I asked them if they were aware of what red flag laws were doing. They had no knowledge of it. They did know about welfare checks, but had zero idea what was actually going down during these welfare / wellness checks. I asked them how mental illnesses were named and put in the books, and neither one of them knew. But both of them immediately came to the conclusion and agreed that a series of scientific data would be accumulated, and then this would lead to a condition or an illness going on the books. It was like talking to children. I asked them if they were aware that cops and other people in authority positions were using weaponized mental health to fuck people over, to jam them up, or get their rights taken away, to which they absolutely laughed and denied. They had no idea. They were totally angry about everything that I was saying. Now, these people are going to see this video, and I'm sure we won't talk anymore, but that's for the best. But hopefully you're going to walk away with a little bit of an education from the person that you viewed as some type of snake handler for questioning your beloved fake science. Okay, so I had brought up the Rosenhan/Thud experiment to them. Now I'm going to play this so that everybody can see it. I've put this in videos before, but I want you to see this. These were people who began to question the purpose and the intent and the overall weaponization of psychiatry.
Hundreds of young psychiatrists came to Lang's talks, and one of them was inspired and decided to find a way of testing whether what Lang said was true or not. Could psychiatrists in America distinguish between madness and sanity? He was called David Rosenhan, and he devised a dramatic experiment. He assembled 8 people, including himself, none of whom had ever had any psychiatric problems. Each person was then sent across the country to a specific mental hospital. At an agreed time, they all presented themselves at their hospital and told the psychiatrist on duty they were hearing a voice in their head that said the word thud.
They said the word thud. Now it's perfect because it's not a word of intent. It's not a threat. It's not anything. It's like thud. It means nothing really.
That was the only lie they should tell. Otherwise, they were to behave and respond completely normally. And then what happened?
They were all diagnosed as insane and admitted to the hospital.
All of them?
All of them.
And were any of them insane?
No. There was nobody who could have judged these people as insane. But I told friends, I told my family, I get out when I can get out. That's all. Be there for a couple of days and then I get out. Nobody knew I'd be there for 2 months.
Once admitted, all 8 fake patients acted completely normally, yet the hospitals refused to release them, and diagnosed 7 as suffering from schizophrenia and 1 from bipolar disorder.
7 with schizophrenia on your mental record, and 1 with bipolar on your mental record. Nowadays, this was a while ago, nowadays that can affect your rights as an American big time. Big time. You know, they're taking away pew-pews from people just for taking certain types of medications now in certain states. And that's coming everywhere.
They were all given powerful psychotropic drugs,
which I would have sued them for later for forcing me to take a psychotropic drug that who knows what effect that has on your brain for the rest of your life. Doesn't matter what they say.
They found there was nothing they could do to convince the doctors they were sane, and it quickly became clear that the only way out would be to agree that they were insane, and then pretend to be getting better.
The only way out was to point out that they're correct. They had said I was insane. I am insane, but I'm getting better. That was an affirmation of their view of me.
When Rosenhan finally got out and reported the experiment, there was an uproar. He was accused of trickery and deceit.
He was accused of trickery and deceit because they got caught lying. They got caught doing what they do. They do this to everybody.
And one major hospital challenged him to send some more fakes to them, guaranteeing that they would spot them this time. Rosenhan agreed. And after a month, the hospital proudly announced that they had discovered 41 fakes. Rosenhan then revealed he had sent no one to the hospital.
So they said, yeah, go send some more, and we're going to catch them. We'll catch your fakes. And they turned away 41 patients away from the mental hospital, and it turned out that he hadn't sent any in. This is how fraudulent an industry this is. There are no tests for any of this. There is no such thing as a chemical imbalance. You can't take a test for bipolar. None of it is real. It's theory, and it's not even good theory. It's pseudoscience. You know, I said this in a video that I did earlier about this, where the USSR, Communist Russia, they would do this to any dissident. They would send them to a mental hospital and have them diagnosed with something to fuck with their future, fuck with their record, fuck with everything. And none of this even exists. There is no such thing as a chemical imbalance. The only chemical imbalance there is the drugs that they put in your system causes a chemical imbalance. This is how insane these people are. And if you could have been in the room with me when these people were getting so red and flustered and angry when I questioned their bullshit, it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. Now back to the whole chemical imbalance thing. There's no such thing. There is no such thing.
They say you have a chemical imbalance of serotonin and dopamine, but there's never been a study to ever prove that, ever. It's just been indoctrinated into the culture and television advertising to the point where people now believe it is fact.
Different diseases, you can look at it and you can see it under a microscope, or you can see it in an MRI, or you can see it in a CAT scan. With mental health, you can't see it. You can't be diagnosed in a medical procedure. It's all subjective.
It is all subjective. So a popular idea comes in to unpopularity, let's say religion, and they start calling you backwards and superstitious, right? And then soon they want to bring you in and medicate you because you may believe in God, or you may believe in whatever that is not popular at the time. It's used for social control, and it's being weaponized right now, and they scoffed at that, and I'm going to show you examples of where it is being weaponized. Now these people, who I will never talk to again, I'm sure of it, really did scoff at the idea of this being weaponized. Well, here is a pullover where a cop gets his feelings hurt, and he begins to use the mental health laws, the 5150 laws, and other mental health tricks to try to get this guy jammed up. Check this out.
All right, Mr. Proctor. That is your last name. All right. Everything okay?
Do I need to answer any of your questions?
You don't have to answer anything, dude.
Okay.
You don't have to. Lucky you stand here all day. I get paid either way.
Can you go ahead and finish your job so I can carry on?
What's up with the anger, dude?
I'm not angry.
You're not angry? You always talk to everybody like that?
I'm not angry.
Oh, okay.
I just want you to go ahead and wrap things up, please.
Oh, okay.
See, these are the type of people where they are their job. Like, I'm a cop. Like, you don't see janitors doing this. Like, I'm a janitor, man. You fucked with me, you know, and I'm going to try to jam you up. There's a personality profile to not all of them, but a lot of them. You know, you hurt their feelings, and they are going to jam you up. And right now, he is trying to jam him up with a mental health diagnosis so that he can try to take him in as a danger. You know, these are post 9/11 type laws.
All right, well, you know, I'm going to give you a break on it, but you know what I'm saying? This isn't a parking spot, okay, dude?
You're not giving me a break. You're harassing me at this point. I'd like to leave. May I leave now, please?
Well, do you understand?
Am I being detained?
Yes, you are.
Okay.
All right. So do you understand why I stopped you?
Do I need to answer any more of your questions?
You don't have to.
Okay.
Okay. But then again, I could do this all day too.
Okay.
All right. So, would you like to leave? Mr. Proctor, would you like to leave?
Do I need to answer any more of your questions?
Hello. No. I'm not the one that's acting this way, okay? I'm just asking you to do, you know, I'm trying to give you a break here, all right?
I prefer you just write me the parking ticket.
He's not trying to give him a break. He's trying to set him up into some mental health condition and get him to yell so that he can pull some 5150 bullshit on him.
They didn't let me go.
Right, okay, oh, okay. All right, dude. I was trying to be nice to you. All righty. Will you hold on? Having all right? Yeah.
Now there's more cops.
So just let you know what's going on. We're having another guy coming over real quick. Traffic guy with a side book, since you want a ticket. So otherwise, I didn't want to go through all this hassle. You know what I'm saying? Is everything okay?
Is everything okay? I'm just worried about you, man. I'm just worried about you. This is what you call weaponized mental health. And these fuckers had the gall to scoff at me when I said it was being weaponized. And right now in this video, you can see clearly that this cop is weaponizing mental health against this guy that has zero mental problems whatsoever.
Any other issues or anything going on that I should know of?
Let's go back to that.
Is there any other issues or anything going on that I should know of?
Do you have any other issues going on that I should know of? He's trying to set him up.
Do I need to answer your questions?
You don't have to answer anything. I'm concerned about your well-being. Is there something wrong?
Do I need to answer any of your questions?
What a fucking scumbag.
If there's something wrong, it would be nice, yeah.
Do I need to answer any of your questions?
You don't have to talk to me. I'm just saying. I'm just concerned about your well-being. That's all I'm saying. Usually we don't get people hostile.
I've not been hostile.
Okay. Well, usually we don't get people wanting a ticket. You know what I'm saying? I'm going through all this. I could be having my lunch right now. All right, dude. Well, we'll be waiting, dude. Hurry up, dude. It's kind of my lunchtime. Hey, Mr. Proctor, can I just give you your stuff so you can leave?
Can you?
I can, but you're the one. I would have let you go a long time ago.
What do I need to do for you to hand me my documents so I can
I'll
leave?
give it to you right now. I just want to know that, you know, say you're okay, because usually I don't get people.
What do I need to do for you to hand me my documents so I can be on my way?
You're okay.
This is weaponized mental health.
I don't need to answer any of your questions.
Hey, there we go again. Jesus Christ. You know? I'm trying to say that...
You're trying to display your power to me right now.
I'm concerned about it. Is there a problem to be concerned about another human being?
He's not concerned. He's trying to set him up. If you don't see this, you're fucking retarded.
I have no reason to be concerned about me.
So it's okay then. You're okay then.
You can hand me my documents and I can be on my way. Or we can...
Okay.
He won't let him go. He's trying to entrap him into saying something so that he can pull some 5150 type bullshit on him.
So, okay, so if I hand you your stuff, you'll be fine and taken off and you're not angry, right? You're not gonna... Okay, here, I'll tell you what. I'm gonna take a chance on you, all right? Here. Mr. Proctor?
He's gonna take a chance on him. Just because he's kept him at his car for 45 minutes trying to set him up for some type of mental health thing. And somebody is gonna sit there and tell people that mental health isn't weaponized. This is madness.
You're right. Everything's cool, all right? We're blocking traffic here to your stuff. All right, hopefully you have a good day. Everything works out for you, all right?
Am I free to leave now?
Yes, you are.
Could you please step away from the vehicle?
Yes, I will. You have a good day.
Just fucking amazing. And to not understand this, to be completely oblivious to this, is criminal, especially when you're involved in the mental health industry. Just amazing. Now, it's not just used by police. Big corporations are using the whole mental health narrative as a weapon to get even with people. They did this to this guy, Voorhees, that blew the whistle on Google. So what Google did is they started fucking with him, and then they began calling in wellness checks to his house to make sure that he was okay, because they thought something was wrong with him, because he was blowing the whistle on Google. I'm going to let him tell his story, and I might butt in here and there and say a couple things, but here we go.
To let Google know that not to assassinate me, I set out a dead man switch, which is still available on my Twitter profile, Perpetual Maniac. And so I tweeted that. Well, a few hours later, Google called in a wellness check. But unfortunately for them, they fell for my decoy address. So instead of sending the police to my address in San Francisco, they sent the police to Richmond. So the Richmond police show up. They're trying to get a hold of me. My friends are there at the house. They're like, Zach is not here. And they wouldn't believe him. They were really trying to get a hold of me. But I'm not there. So eventually the police leave, and my friend gives me a call, and he's like, yo, Zach, like, these people really want to get their hands on you. And I'm like, oh, wow, well, I hope they, I hope that's the end of it. I hope they, don't try here. 30 minutes later, they're knocking on my door, okay? And
where you actually are.
Where I'm actually are, right? So I've got like a gate, and then I've got like a door. It's kind of the San Francisco, like, on a busy street sort of thing. So we've got like a metal gate. It's a security gate. Well, they're on the outside, like ringing the doorbell on that gate. I'm on the second floor. I'm like, I'm not going to answer this. So I lay low.
So they went to his place way east, and when they realized that, Google got a hold of them and gave them another address to go to make sure that Zach Voorhees was okay, right? Weaponized Psychiatry.
Well, now all of a sudden I hear them like banging on my door on the inside. I'm like, how did they get through the gate? But they're not announcing themselves, and I know my rights. I don't have to talk to the police, so I just don't talk to the police.
And why wouldn't they announce themselves? Don't you think that's a little bit weird? We're the police. We just want to make sure you're okay. Wouldn't that be all right? There are so many departments that operate like this. It's insanity. And it's weird because, the places where I grew up, the police were generally totally fucking cool, man. On average, they were totally cool. And in this militarized system that we have now, it's crazy.
And but they kept on banging. Man, they kept on banging. I'm like, oh man, this is crazy. I sneak over to like a window, and I can hear them talking to my neighbor and telling them something like, well, if you hear of anything, let us know. I was like, okay, it sounds like they're leaving. I'm just going to lay low. But what I didn't realize was that they had decided to escalate. And the reason why they decided to escalate is because there was a tin can filled with denatured alcohol that was right by the entrance of the gate. It's used for fire spinning. My roommate is a fire spinner, and she does like a bunch of performances. So the cops looked at this, and they said, is that a bomb? That could be a bomb. Maybe this is a bomb.
So that's insane. So do you see how they escalate these situations? Weaponized psychiatry. So now this guy could have a bomb. So if you have fucking bleach and ammonia in your house, they could go, oh, this guy's building a bomb. You got a can of gas in your backyard next to your lawnmower. Oh, this guy could be building a bomb. It's just madness. This kind of shit goes on and on and on, and it ended up with helicopters over this dude's house and shit going crazy. And this is a large corporation weaponizing psychiatry against somebody. And again, I've got people scoffing at me over this idea. Here's some crazy bitch threatening to call in welfare checks on people.
So block Linda. She lives in Canada. We're going to find out her address. And we are going, well, we meaning I, am going to find out if Linda needs a welfare check. If you don't like it, leave my channel.
So this is what people do to people. Weaponized psychiatry. They might need a welfare check. So all of this that they've done in the name of psychiatry and safety has turned out bad. It turns into a weapon. Psychiatry is a weapon. Period. And just the fact that these people who are so involved in an industry like that are either completely unaware of it, just oblivious completely. Now here's another welfare check where they show up and then they start fucking with the house, fucking with the cameras, and then try to kick the door down. Check this out.
Imagine having to call the cops on the cops. That's what happened to an Edmonton woman last week after a pair of officers were caught on video doing this, moving around home security cameras so the officers were out of view.
The first one, I thought maybe it was just because she didn't want me to see her there. And then when they walked around the house and started doing the other cameras, I thought, this is it for me. I might not make it out.
We've agreed to hide the identity of the homeowner as she fears for her safety. The woman says police showed up last Thursday around 8:30 p.m., but something didn't feel right, so...
And the fucked up thing is, these people can call anyone on anyone. Just like swatting. You get these cops or whoever showing up going, you know, we need to make sure you're okay. These people end up dying because they don't announce themselves. Somebody's knocking on a door. You might arm yourself. They see you with a weapon through the window, and then they fucking unload on you. Calling and doing any of this for these do-gooders, it's all a bad idea. It's all a bad idea, and it's weaponized.
The woman refused to open the door. Instead, she called the non-emergency line. But while on hold, she saw the female officer moving all her security cameras to face another direction.
Why would you need to do that if it's a welfare check?
That's when she dialed 911. She was scared of what would happen next.
I might die today. I actually texted a couple people and I said, you know, if this happens, just remember that, and that might be it.
She says one officer then tried to kick down her back door. We were sent these pictures that shows dents and cracks on the doors and a split door frame. The woman tells us the officers left the area after she spoke to the 911 operator. The homeowner later contacted EPS and was told it was a wellness check, but they refused to tell her who exactly made the call.
From what you saw in these videos, is this proper police protocol?
No, in fact, it's I would think it's criminal behavior on the part of the police.
It's criminal behavior on the part of the police because they've weaponized psychiatry, red flag laws, wellness checks, all this bullshit. Stop doing it. Stop being the do-gooder. Stop the bullshit.
Expert says these videos show obstruction of justice and mischief to private property.
They're interfering with private property, which is the crime of mischief to private property. And they're obviously trying to make sure that there's no independent audio-video record of what they're doing, and that's obstruction of justice. And it should be investigated as a criminal offense.
She's hoping the investigation is taken seriously, saying if she was actually having a mental health episode, it might have not ended well.
I would think if somebody were already scared and...
A mental health episode. You know, that's what this is all about. This is how these laws came to be. Mental health. Again, show me a test for bipolar. Show me a test for these chemical imbalances you talk about. Behavior is a symptom of something else that you are incapable of finding at the moment, or the industry doesn't want to find, like an infection or a fungal infection that has slipped past the blood-brain barrier, or metals, or any number of things like EMF, RF, ELF, or other frequencies. And then they can use these laws and all this bullshit to come down on you, saying that mental health isn't weaponized. Trying to say that some kid that doesn't seem to have any impulse control is bipolar. Fuck off with that shit.
German psychiatrist Emil Kreplin was the first to attempt to classify mental problems as medical disease states, though he devoted his life attempting to prove that these problems came exclusively from biological and hereditary sources. He never could, finally concluding it was nearly impossible to scientifically distinguish the normal from the insane.
And I mentioned earlier how I asked this couple how mental illnesses were named and put on the books, and neither one of them knew. But both of them agreed that it would be like a series of scientific data that would be accumulated, and then this would lead to a condition or an illness going on the books. And I said it was like talking to children. That's not how it works. They're voted in by a panel of people. Voted in. Is this an illness? Is this not an illness? We'll vote it in. Okay, this is an illness. That is how they do their science. Let's hear how these illnesses are voted in. I've talked about this before, but let's get into it real quick.
And so we've been told that there's a chemical imbalance.
Because it's important for this video.
But there's no science to back that up.
Though Schildkraut was never able to prove his chemical imbalance theory, it was too late. The psychiatric community had already adopted the theory as a plausible-sounding medical explanation for the mental disorders listed in the DSM. And the average person is completely unaware that psychiatric diagnoses are not medical, but merely voted on behaviors. In the last decade alone, the rate of children labeled with bipolar has soared 4,000%.
This idea that childhood itself is a psychiatric disease is simply based off some completely unsubstantiated idea that got printed in.
And that's what this couple was doing. They were going, he was diagnosed with it. He was diagnosed with it. Like, don't you get it? He was diagnosed with it, with bipolar. Yeah, but it just sounds like he just doesn't have impulse control. But he was diagnosed with bipolar.
The psychiatric manual, and there's no science behind it whatsoever.
I've talked about this a lot, but Sybil, you know, the multiple personality case where they wrote the book on it and did all that Hollywood pushing. This is how they use Hollywood and the media to push these kinds of ideas into the psyche of the American people. So multiple personality, Sybil, it was all a hoax. It was all a hoax, and it was all fake. They admitted that it was fake. They admitted that the personalities were fake, that the author that wrote the book was a psychiatric asshole that knew that it was fake. But the most important part about that is that something happened after Sybil. Before Sybil, there were fewer than 100 reported cases of multiple personality disorder in medical literature. After Sybil, there were 6,000 cases, and by 1995, there were 40,000. So it went from fewer than 100 to over 40,000. If that makes any kind of sense to you, then I can't help you. I just can't help you. You know, for these people out there that are arguing this shit, that get upset when you tell them that it's fraudulent and weaponized, all the proof is there, and you don't even have to dig that far to find it. This is very, very easy information to find. And for the two of you who decided to have this argument with me, I might have an opinion on something and talk about things, but I don't have opinions this strong unless I know what I'm talking about. And clearly, you have no idea about the other side of the coin, because this is your bread and butter. And I'm not going to mention your names because this is your bread and butter. But you are full of shit. You don't know what you're talking about. And just these small clips in this prove exactly what I'm talking about. The cop trying to set the guy up for a 5150 situation, the welfare checks, the bullshit. It is weaponized, and to scoff at that idea makes you an absolute fucking set of fools. I hope you don't have children. And that's it for now. Look out for Charlie.
Psychiatry, Lang said, was a fake science, used as a system of political control to shore up a violent, collapsing society.
Mental illness in this country, especially post-lockdown, has never been worse. Mental health has never been worse.
Once I was given this diagnosis, I was actually able to treat the symptoms, and I got better. You really should consider giving BetterHelp a try. BetterHelp is a highly reviewed online therapy platform.
Esther visited St. Thomas Hospital near Westminster Bridge and requested to see the mental health crisis team.
David had been struggling with his mental health in the lead up to his disappearance.
She was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, a mental health condition often associated with stigma and misunderstanding. Esther now advocates for mandatory return interviews for people who leave intentionally,
exacerbated tenfold by her very poor mental health.
Psychosis is losing touch with reality and is often associated with various serious mental health issues. If stress becomes too overwhelming, anyone may experience these symptoms, triggering a breakdown.
Recently begun going to a day program for psychiatric care at a local hospital to help Ruthie kind of get her life together beyond just her mental health.
Bipolar is a complicated disorder. If you or anyone you know is suffering with mental health, please reach out.
You really should consider giving BetterHelp a try.
You know, some people see it, some people don't.
Lookoutfa Charlie.